What can you do every day that's going to make your life better? Go for a walk, do some exercise, even just stretch for 5-10 minutes. If you did that every day of the year, by the end of the year, you're going to feel 10 times better than what you did at the start. I always said to people, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. To get someone to go to a gym is actually really hard.
Yes.
You know, because it's quite intimidating anyway. So trying to make things too complicated actually creates a barrier to entry. And the aesthetic market is a big market, but the biggest market is those people not going to the gym. We sort of talk about it as like the third space. You've got your home, you've got your work, and then you've got the gym. It's an emotional experience as opposed to just going in there and lifting weights and stuff. So
they didn't hang out at the bar. They hang out at this place, which is amazing, right? Like this is the type of environments that you want to create.
People stop training because they don't get the result they want. Gyms now are starting to look at track and record and measure and manage, you know, because if you don't measure it, you can never manage it. We all should actually train like an athlete. We should recover like an athlete. We should sleep like an athlete. We
100.
should eat like an athlete. If someone could give me 3 sessions a week, I could make massive changes. Once they see that they're improving, they want to come back for more. It's really hard for those 24-hour gyms to have group fitness because BFT's come along and just destroyed those other gyms because they run a really good model. You just can't outrun a bad diet. Doesn't matter how much exercise you do.
Right.
If you eat crap, you look like crap. The training is just the stimulus. But then if you don't do the eating, the sleeping, everything else, you're not going to change. If you can pick it up out of the ground or if you can grow it and catch it, kill it or whatever, it's probably good for you. But if it comes in a packet, it's got a whole lot of additives added to it, it's probably not good for you. Even on the days where I know I don't want to get up and work out, I get up and work out, you know, and just having that mentality, right, I'm going to do something today. It doesn't matter what it is. Not snoozing. Get up, get going, just get on with the day.
Welcome to the Melding Muse podcast. Melding art and design, entrepreneurship, music, fashion, film, sports, gaming, and whatever's in between. We exist to showcase extraordinary people to inspire the next generation of creatives and leaders. My guest today is Colin Walker, father, former fitness coach, and now general manager at Life Fitness New Zealand. We talked about his journey into the fitness world, how the wellness and fitness industry has evolved, and what it takes to build a successful gym, but also how to get fit and healthy. If you love fitness and wellness, this episode is for you. Colin Walker, welcome to the Melding Muse podcast. How are you doing, my bro?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, I haven't seen you for such a long time, but as soon as I saw you, I'm like, man, this guy doesn't age. Like, you're just pumping that gym every day and you look young, man, like incredible. Because I know you from so long ago.
10 years.
10 years probably that we worked together. And I remember you went from light fitness to Vic work and into light fitness and you just decided, my life is here. This is what I love to do.
Yeah.
You've been doing some amazing stuff. I've seen you like a rock star hitting the plane and going to Las Vegas. And I'm like, this guy's killing it out there. And the company that you work for is amazing. I mean, the stuff that they produce is top class. And it's probably, if you listen to this podcast, you have definitely worked out in one of their machines, light fitness, hammer strength, it's badass stuff that you posted recently. So I'm super excited to talk to you about fitness today, something I'm very interested about. And a lot of people that tune into this podcast as well, they want to get into their fitness, into the mental health, into a bunch of different things. So let's start with something before we get into these interesting topics, and just for people to know who you are. Is just give us a quick overview of who you are, what your career has been, and the cool stuff that you're doing now with Light Fitness.
Oh, just a quick overview. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been doing fitness for pretty much my whole life, really.
Right.
Went to university, wanted to be in the fitness industry some shape or form, wanted to be, I guess back then, like a strength and conditioning or S&C coach for like the All Blacks, it would have been back then. And studied that, left uni, was personal training at the same time, worked in a shop. We had a PT business and a supplement business. That sort of did really well, and then kind of sort of fell into being a sales rep and being on the road selling supplements. One of my suppliers for that shop needed a rep, so got out on the road. Started doing that, and then, funny story, I was at a barbecue and the previous person who had my sales role that I used to have at Life Fitness, he was leaving and he said, I'm going back to the UK, and I knew Life Fitness and Ham. I'd loved the gear, I'd always trained on the gear. So, and as a PT, that was one of your tools that you use. So I found out who the owner of the company was and got in touch with them, had an interview, got the job. So started that journey back in 2007.
Right.
So you've been with them ever since. Had a little segue to V-Work with yourself. I was there for about a year and a bit, and I took that challenge, I guess you could say, to do something different and get out of fitness and get into a different sort of sales role. But then while I was there, I just realized how much I loved fitness, loved the customers, loved the people that I worked with. Just being part of a really positive community. I'll never forget, I'd go and try and sell V-work into a truck company or anything like that, and it was all dollars and cents. There was no underlying sort of mission about what they were trying to do. And so I guess, I just always loved doing anything to do with fitness. So so I was doing sales for them for a long time, and then 2019 opportunity came up to move from Auckland down to the Hamilton area and help run the business for the owners. And so since 2019, 2020 being the GM, and obviously 2020 was a big challenge for everyone with COVID and gyms closing and all that stuff. So got through all of that, and we've got out the other end, and man, we're just cranking at the moment. Life Fitness is going really well in New Zealand. Year on year, we seem to find new customers and keep existing customers happy, and just love doing that. I mean, get to travel a lot, as you've been saying. We go to trade shows. Just been to Las Vegas to the HFA conference, which is kind of like the biggest one in the US, and every supplier's there, every person trying to promote their products and stuff. So I love doing that. I mean, it's, some people like going clothes shopping. I just love going, looking at gym equipment, testing things out, seeing what's happening in the industry. Whether it's group fitness products, whether it's cardio products or strength products.
What's one thing that, like, from that particular roadshow that you did recently in Las Vegas, was one piece that you blew your mind, or one new technology that's coming up that you went, oh shit, this is going to change?
I mean, there's a couple of things there, like definitely piece of equipment like Life Fitness and Hammer have released a new piece of equipment. It's a pendulum X squat. So everyone who's bodybuilding or training at the moment really likes pendulum squats. So I guess you could say Hammer have not released anything like that, ever. So they've developed their own version of that. That was really, really cool. I tried every single pendulum I could at the trade show, and prior to that, when we were in Las Vegas, went to a whole lot of gyms. So what Hammer have done really well there is they've kept it really simple. In terms of the movement patterns, I think they've made it more like a squat rather than an arc. So you can get really good lockout on that as well. So, Hammer's always about building, something to get the movement first rather than the aesthetics. They make their stuff look really cool, but at the same time, it's got to feel right. So that was really cool. They've released some other cool strength products. In terms of technology, I'd say recovery is the biggest thing that I saw there. Ice baths, cryo chambers, hot and cold chambers. That was massive. Like, there was just so many different options there. I know you train at BFT, and heart rate tracking is massive there as well. So they've developed their own technology there. So I mean, that was that was sort of been around for a while, and reformer Pilates and all that side of the industry is really exploding at the moment. So there's lots of different types of reformers, and people sort of trying to change something that is pretty classic and you can't really change. So and I would say that's the same thing in the fitness industry. Like, there's some really big players out there like Life Fitness and Hammer, and there's a few other big suppliers who've been doing it for a long time. And we might not be the first to market with some stuff, but when we do, we really do a really good job. And some people are trying to make things more complicated than they need to be, particularly with some of the strength equipment. There's lots of different chest press movements and shoulder press movements and things, and they keep trying to put different levers on them and ways that you can change the movement patterns, when I think, to get someone to go to a gym and train and exercise is actually really hard.
Yes.
Because it's quite intimidating anyway. So when you make the machine more complicated, you actually make it harder.
Yeah, you add so much resistance to the whole process. Yeah.
And I mean, you train at BFT, so like it's pretty simple
basic
exercise. Basic. And they've got a massive following. And I think that's a lesson that a lot of suppliers could look at and go, dumbbells, plates, benches, bars, rig, that's it. So if you can keep it simple, I think Einstein might have a saying around making something simple is actually genius, So I think trying to make things too complicated actually creates a barrier to entry. And the aesthetic market, like the bodybuilding market, is a big market, but the biggest market is those people not going to the gym. And I think
that's a very good point.
So trying to get those people who don't go to the gym to go to the gym. And there's different gyms for everyone now. Like the market has just completely exploded and stuff. So like in my time, like I started as a PT in like 94, 95. So back then gyms were just pretty basic, you know, a little bit of cardio, not much plate loaded, quite a lot of pin loaded and big free weights areas.
Yeah. Actually, I'm curious, 94 you said. What was the cardio machines like back then? I was 4 years old back then. What was the cardio machines like?
So at my gym, it would have been like a couple of original Life Fitness TR 9100 treadmills. If you Google that on YouTube, you'll find something. We've got one in our showroom that is from that era.
Wow.
The bikes were like old school, like a normal push bike with a fan on it, basically. Kind of like an air bike is now.
Yeah,
but
like an air bike. Yeah.
But the real basic version of that. No cross trainers. So it's just treadmills and air bikes. So it was more of a bodybuilding focused gym. There was Clive Green's down the road, and that's where I actually first started properly PTing. They had a bit more cardio equipment, you know, a little bit of, you know, exercycles and things like that. I mean, Life Fitness invented the exercycle in 1968.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's been like, we're the original exercycle inventor, you could say. And then Richard Ball brought Life Fitness to New Zealand back in the 80s. So one of the oldest distributors outside of the US. New Zealand's quite, New Zealand's really quite advanced in the Asia Pacific community. Anyway, New Zealand and Australia would be far ahead of everywhere else in terms of the penetration into the fitness industry. So
is that right?
Yeah. Wow. So like Asia's really low. It might be like 5%, whereas New Zealand's probably 15%, maybe 20%, depending on who you talk to and what data you're getting it from. So back in the early 90s, like most of my clients would have been, you know, people training for a sport. I was bodybuilding back then. So anyone, you know, doing a bodybuilding or a fitness competition. Whereas now, like, the people, it's huge demographic. Like everyone's going to the gym. It's like the next hobby, you know. We sort of talk about it as like the third space. You've got your home, you've got your work, and then you've got the gym. Yeah. You know, and everyone has to have that third space to sort of keep them grounded. It's like a triangle trying to sort of create that balance in life, really. Yeah. And I'd say, you know, the fitness industry has become so big now that there's so many opportunities to train whatever you want, like whether you're an athlete, whether you're a normal person, whether you've got some sort of injury or some sort of handicap, you might be in a wheelchair, for example. There's lots of spaces catering for that. So it's and the boutique market has sort of exploded, like BFT is part of that. And I would say they call it like a single modality facility is what BFT is. And then Les Mills, for example, with multiple modalities because you've got group fitness, strength, cardio, and everything else. So some people just like the single modality fitness, that they'll just do Pilates, reformer, and that's it. And then others want everything and some want in between. Yeah, it just keeps evolving, man. It's just constant. And that's why amazing. I love it. You know, just like with what you do. Yeah. I'm interested in what do you attribute the high penetration of fitness equipment to the Oceania market in compared to those other big markets that population wise are obviously a lot denser. But New Zealand's quite a small place, but actually the demand for that is a lot bigger. What do you attribute that to? What do you think? Probably just our sporting backgrounds. Like that's what I thought too. New Zealand is quite a sporting nation. That's why it's crazy how many great athletes come out of this small part of the world. Exactly. And we glorify sport. You know, you got the Halberg Awards and all that sort of stuff. So that is a huge thing. So I guess growing up, you know, you see your heroes on TV and they're generally sports people, you know. I mean, we do celebrate the arts and everything else as well, but my early childhood memories is generally all sports related, like playing rugby. Like just remember having a rugby ball, and I don't know when I got it, but I just remember running around playing rugby and always wanting to be better. And all my brothers, my two older brothers, are into their sports as well, and pretty good athletes as well. So you're just chasing them. So I'm interested in a couple of things, but first because I wanted to ask you this in the beginning as well. Your personal workout routine, or how do you just talk about that? Because you literally don't change. Yeah, you look so good. You keep yourself really fit. What do you attribute that to? First of all, like how do you manage your strength and conditioning, your fitness in terms of cardio, recovery, focus, all of these things? How do you balance those? Just give us a quick overview of. Do you use data, for example, to track recovery, strength? Like do you use your Yeah, I mean, I've only just got like an Apple Watch, and I'd say the biggest thing I've got out of that is the sleep. Right. Do you wear it for sleep as well? Yeah, and my sleep's terrible. So that is my biggest work on at the moment, is to try and get more sleep and better sleep. Just with work, you know, you're not working late and then you don't go to bed on time, and because you've been working late, you're sort of more stressed. So trying to develop good recovery habits, so like reading a book before bed, trying to turn on my phone off at 8 o'clock instead of, answering a message at 10 o'clock at night, that sort of thing. So, I like to do something every day. So it could be a walk, or it could just be a stretch, or it could be hitting the gym and doing some weights. So what I do now, because I'm 50 now, but when I was at V-Work, I was 40, so I was hard at into my CrossFit then. So it was all about...
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's like chasing, I don't know, back then it was like trying to make the games, but that was obviously a far-fetched dream, but had that goal of trying to be the best in New Zealand for the 40-year-old crew, and smashing the workout of the day, going till you threw up, and just hitting PRs and ringing the bell and all that sort of stuff. And sort of, I guess when I came back to Life Fitness, it was more of a focus on work and trying to get ahead and set myself some goals in terms of what I wanted to achieve back there. But I've always trained, I've always exercised. For me, it's like meditation, and whether it's 10 minutes walking on my own, just collecting my thoughts, maybe listen to a podcast, or, going to the gym for an hour and setting myself some training, I've got to lift, whatever weight it is and that sort of thing. So it's not as structured now as it has been, and therefore by default the progress hasn't been as good, but it's more just mental release at the moment.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, and definitely trying to set a good example for my kids. I try and go for a run with my girls, or my eldest, asked if she could come to the gym with me the other day, which was, as a dad, that's who's into the fitness industry, that's like one of the best things that's ever happened, because I just love sharing that with them and sort of giving them a good example to follow. And I just know that if they follow the discipline of training and looking after themselves, then that will look after
that will ripple down the life.
And
for everything in life.
For everything, and I don't know. I just love the feeling of exercising. I love being fit and healthy. I love being able to do, what I could do in my 40s and my 50s, and if I just always said to people, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So it's just
100.
like being mentally stimulated. I used to do a few Sudokus and things like that to try and keep mentally on top, but that would be a work on, definitely. Probably got a bit more into my saunas and ice baths and recovery of late.
Several years ago, that was almost like only athletes were going to do that, but I think now it's more accessible. Like you mentioned, there's so many ways that you can do an ice bath, that you can have your own sauna, and and cryo. All of that facilities are opening up. That's amazing, man. You mentioned about all these different types of fitness offerings, if you like to call it. You say the boutique ones, and there's so many ones, right? Have you come across one that's quite unique, that sort of has like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, have you come across something quite like a hybrid of many sort of things that are quite unique about it? Because I know some gyms are like heavy on high-tech equipment, right? And they have but it's super expensive to go, right? So it's really, really high price point. Just curious, because I personally do like the recovery part as well, like having a facility that can potentially offer the entire sort of. But I like the BFT's approach in terms of the classes. Like me personally, bro, the like you said, dragging me to a gym was hard because my fitness was always sports. So I play football, and you could drag me to play football every day, no problem. I'll play for 2 hours if you want me to.
Yeah.
But if you invite me to go to a gym, I'm like, But BFT changed that for me. When I got to BFT, the only reason why I got there was because I wanted to get my wife into something, because she didn't like any of it, nothing. And I told her, like, look, there's one open up here. Let's just go and try. And she was like, I'll go if you come with me. And we went and then got hooked. I'm like, oh man, this is actually quite fun. And the whole community aspect of it. Because I like what you said about this triangle, the workspace, and then you got your home, and then you got your gym. That place to become like this ultimate, because in Colombia when I was there, I went to one gym that was like crazy cool, bro. It's like pretty much like a cafe for people to hang out, workout, gym, and it was, I think, mainly the main focus they had was cycling. Fucking huge screens like for cycling and all of that. But they also have like the saunas at the top, rooftop, people hang out. So it literally became that people went to work or whatever, and that's where they hang out at the end of the day. They didn't hang out at the bar. They hang out at this place, which is amazing, right? Like this is the type of environments that you want to create. So I'm interested. Like, have you seen anything like that?
Not so much in New Zealand. I would say the closest to that, you've got places like Fitness Cartel out in Manukau. Leo's done like a ridiculously cool job there. Like I would say that is like from a visual sound lighting perspective, like the place is like off the chart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you
what's the name?
Fitness Cartel.
Fitness
like
Cartel.
It's got a
okay.
wall with all your superheroes. Like it's got Hulk coming out of the wall.
Oh,
and
shit,
the way that they've
right?
done the graphic design, it's almost like a 3D print. So if you stand far enough back, it looks really cool. So, but he's got like a full-on recovery room. He's got Pilates reformers. He's got a spin studio. He's got a kids club. He's got a group fitness space and a gym.
Wow.
And so sort of like what I was talking about before, we've got single modality over here and then multiple over here. CrossFit probably kicked off in New Zealand about 08, 09 with like Darren Ellis with CrossFit New Zealand, Alex Porter with CrossFit Auckland. And like I was into, I was training heaps then and I saw them start up and I remember going there and looking at it and thinking, man, this is just a barbell and plates. This is super cool because it's just the basics. And sort of back then, like no gym was really offering, I called it like small group training or small group personal training. So you would go to a class and get really good instruction, a really good program, and you get your results. And coming from my PT background, people stop training because they don't get the result they want. And these big box clubs,
that's a good point,
were just offering a big space to come and train. So they weren't really giving the person what they needed, and therefore by default, people were leaving. So they went to these single modality places which specialized in a particular part of training, which could be like BFT, F45, CrossFit, which is sort of high intensity interval training. And that sort of, was a buzzword back then. And then you got reformer Pilates and everything else now. But, everyone had a different area that they really, really liked, and they sort of gravitated towards that. I think what's happened, in the last 5 years, especially in New Zealand, all those big clubs have gone, well, they're charging $60 a week, maybe $80 a week, some of them. We can charge less and do that as well. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and I listened to one on Escape Fitness with Emma Barry talking about, and she's a ex-Les Mills lady who now she was working for Equinox, which is a massive club in the US. And she basically was saying that, these big box clubs are trying to do boutique, but doing it badly. Because when you go to a BFT, like you've got the tech, you've got the service, you've got everything else, it's a super high level premium product. So then if a big box gym tries to copy that and they don't do it at a high level, and people come in expecting that, they're not going to stay. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. And I would say like definitely like if there's some clubs out there that'll be rolling through New Zealand soon, which will be at that level. Like Les Mills is doing some amazing things with Ceremony and Conquer across all of their New Zealand clubs, and those are all going to be, implemented in, they've got 12 clubs around New Zealand. So soon you'll be able to get like a BFT type workout at a Les Mills for the same price as what you'd normally pay. So,
really?
Yeah, so like $25 to $35 a week, and you're getting all of the Les Mills club plus the group fitness. So
wow, okay.
That's going to be a big challenge. But the thing is BFT has evolved as well. Depending on when this comes out, they've probably had their conference and that sort of thing. But you've just got bars, plates, and racks and stuff. So they're going to start releasing cables and putting different machines into their gyms so that you can train people differently. And that's the thing. Like Configure was a women's only gym in New Zealand. It didn't evolve, and it's died and gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I remember back when I started in 07 and I was talking to the owner at the time, and I was like, well, why don't you have cable machines? Why don't you have free weights? Why don't you have this? And they're like, oh, women don't want to do that. And I was like, mate, you're wrong. Like, this is what women want to do, because what you've created is just this little circuit. And once they get good at that, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
So when you train at a gym, I look at it like you're evolving through an education process. You're starting, in New Zealand, we call it primary, intermediate, tertiary, and then you've got advanced, postgraduate type of education. So the gym's exactly the same. Like you come to the gym, you've never trained before.
Yes.
You've been an athlete playing football or whatever, but you've never trained in a gym.
100% that happened to me with BFT.
Yeah.
Like you think you're fit because you work and run, and then suddenly you go through to BFT and you don't even know how to do a proper lift. You have to really start from the basics.
Yeah. So it's trying to create, and BFT do that really well because it's small.
Progression, yeah. And they do progression. Like I went to the class this week. It's progression 1. Mm-hmm. So every day, it's like they have like blocks. So the people that, from some people that join, they get to do the first, like a Turkish get up, for example. If you get somebody who's never done a Turkish get up to do the full Turkish get up, they won't do it. So they do like, just starts in the first class, then it's just one simple movement. That's it. And then the next class you come, they will do the second part of the movement and then evolves the movement all the way to the top. And I quite like that about BFT, is that, like you said, it's like you're starting primary and you have to evolve all the way down till you can do a full Turkish get up. So yeah, that's a very good point.
And that's sort of where, you know, like I wouldn't say there's many unique gyms, but gyms now are starting to look at what more can I offer to keep them here. Like what you're saying, like it's that third place where people want to come and hang out. Like I'm going to Chicago in May to go to Life Fitness head office and go see the factories, and there's massive clubs over there like Lifetime Fitness, Midtown Athletic, which is like it's been on my bucket list to go and see that for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a Kiwi mate of mine there called Richard Ernie who used to work there, so he's sort of going to give us a bit of a tour and stuff. But it's got like tennis courts, pools, pickleball courts. It's got saunas, spa. So it's like a fitness retreat.
Damn, that's a fitness retreat right there.
Yeah, and that's where like...
That's a good word, actually. I love that. It's a retreat.
Yeah, and I think that's what people are looking for these days. That's like, epic. Go to the gym and do a yoga workout. Go to the gym and have a business meeting or a lunch or whatever. I mean, IHF down in Christchurch is sort of in that sort of mode where the gym is a very small part of their business, but everything else that they can do is the other part. And it's trying to, you know, like if someone walks into a retail shop and they want to buy a shirt, then you want to try and upsell them.
Yeah.
The fitness industry has evolved into that beast as well, where you're coming in, BFT will put you through a challenge. They'll get you to sign up to a 8-week challenge. They'll test, retest, all that. So they're always trying to upsell, but at the same time, they're trying to build that community and keep you hooked in for as long as they can. I mean, there's some, big stats out there with how long people join a gym for, how long they stay for, how long they churn. I mean, a lot of gyms churn memberships, so it could be 50 or 60% churn rate. So you sign up.
Wow, that's crazy.
You sign up 10, but you're losing 6, or you sign up 10, you're losing 5. So by default, when you look at those numbers, you think, why aren't people staying? And it's, like exactly like what you're saying. I remember, we used to live out in Beachlands, and I remember going out there to play touch rugby on a Wednesday night, and there was just so many people, like 1,500, 2,000 people running around playing touch rugby. And then you go to the gym and there's hardly anyone there. And it's because we love being outdoor exercising. So to go indoors and exercise is probably not the human way. And I think that's where the gym scene has evolved to try and create stuff that really matters to people inside the gym. Create that community. And that's where the boutique market, which was started by CrossFit, by putting the workout on the board, putting your score, creating community, gamification in a very, very simple sense. By
100%.
I remember going to CrossFit.com, seeing what the workout of the day was, seeing who'd done all the scores, and then just comparing myself to them. And you just
it's pretty addictive, online, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super addictive. And it doesn't matter if you're RX, like a top dog sort of athlete, or an intermediate or a scale person or whatever. There was always something that you could do.
Yes.
100%. And then so from that, the community develops and everyone's sort of helping everyone else. And I think that's where the big gyms are moving to now, is to try and get everyone more involved, and really try and track and record and measure and manage, because if you don't measure it, you can never manage it. So, and I think that's, like BFT used to use, it's some wearable tech that I use is in my zone. So, which is exactly like what the BFT does. So whatever zone I'm in, it changes color and you get different points and all that sort of stuff. Like BFT have taken that even further, because their algorithm, basically, so if you're doing a strength workout day, they don't want you to go too hard. They want you to stay at a certain, like a blue or a green level, sort of what we call like zone 1, zone 2. But if you go above that, you won't get any points now at BFT. And if you don't hit those zones as well, you don't get any points. So conversely, when you're doing like a really hard cardio day and they want you in that real upper end, top end zone, like if you don't hit that, then you don't get any points. So what they're trying to do is trying to get people to train properly, train like an athlete, And back when I first started PTing, athletes only need to train like athletes. I just need to do 3 sets of 10, and use the machines. And I guess we've all learnt that we all should actually train like an athlete. We should recover like an athlete. We should sleep like an athlete. We 100. Should eat like an athlete. And then we might not want to go to the Rugby World Cup or the Football World Cup, but we want to be the best person we can be. Yeah. So to do that, we should really look at what those athletes and everyone else are doing. Like if we, could be like Ronaldo and have like, a cryo chamber and spas and saunas on tap and a chef making the perfect meal. Like it would be amazing. But, it's like anything. You look at where you want to be and what those people are doing, and then you think, right, I've got to do what they do to get to there. So,
yeah, 100%. And I can't agree more. And I think a big part of that as well is the challenges with mental health right now. A lot of people are, because of technology, because of a lot of things happening, is the number one therapy for any of those things, right? Like you said, to me, it's the same, man. I remember during the pandemic, whenever I felt just very anxious and started to get a little bit uneasy, I went out for a run. Like just physical release, 100% is the best cure for any of these things. Being my sister, for example, well, my sister listens to this podcast. Shout outs to her because she's a badass girl, let me tell you. Yeah. She competed in Ironman for the first time and got 3rd place.
Wow.
In Cartagena. I was there cheering her up. Man, I couldn't even stand the fucking heat just walking around.
Yeah.
And she's doing this fucking badass competition. And I got so inspired by that because I'm like, man, these people are amazing. At whatever level they were. You saw people there 50 years old, 25-year-old, doesn't really matter. But I got into this mindset of going, wow, you just, like you said, you want to be the best version of yourself. And once you get there, you want to get better and better. And at the end of the day, if you train like an athlete mentally as well, your entire personality changes because you just want to eat up the world, whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
So I can't agree more with that, man. And my sister inspired me in a lot of ways with that because when I saw her achieve that, I'm like, and she's also a badass cycler. Like she does some of the craziest circuits in Colombia that literally professional cyclists do.
Yeah.
90 Ks of this mountain, for example. Crazy stuff. She's only 24 years old, 25 years old. So getting inspired by these people, like I said, I think is very important to think like I can definitely train like an athlete if that's within, some people don't have the money to go to a sauna or whatever, but there's something definitely within the range that you can do to become a better version of yourself. And believe me, if you do that first step, I think you're gonna get really far, especially going to a place where you can find community, where the friction is not there, because I think we talked about that. With BFT, one thing I also noticed with the people that go there is that element that you mentioned about community, is the fact that no matter what shape you are on, people actually cheer you on whenever you lift that 20K or whatever, 50K bench or whatever. People cheer you up and they go and congratulate you. And whenever you hit that orange on the screen, it's like, let's go, that is completely different than sitting with your headphones in the gym. At least for me, I know some people love that because they sort of been programmed in that way and they can just go in the gym, put their headphones on and fucking kill it. That's amazing. Some people like me, fuck, man, I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool to have so many offerings. I want to talk to you quickly about gym fit outs because you guys do that. And that's interesting to me for a couple of reasons. But one is actually design, because I am a designer and I always think about the consideration that goes into putting a gym together in terms of the flow of the gym, where do you place the machines, and of course the machines that you bring into the gym, which is where you guys come on, they need to be designed properly for the space, to have the structure, of course, but also like to be friendly with the space that sometimes the gyms are very tiny, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, that's my favorite part of my job that I ever get to do. Like if I do get to work on a floor plan and design, and fortunate to have done, hundreds, maybe even 1,000 by now, probably.
Wow,
I don't know how many,
Is it only in New Zealand or do you also do them in Australia?
Only in New Zealand, but I mean, we've got a CAD program that we use to do all our layouts and design. So if someone comes to us and they say, hey, I want to do a gym and I've got this this site that I'm looking at, I'll always ask for, so before I even start talking about price or products or whatever, I might have a chat with them about obviously where they want to go and what they want to do and what style of club they want to do. You do all of that, sort of downloading all of that information from them. But then I'll always try and look at the space and do the fit out of how I think would work best, and then present that to the client and say, look, based on what you told me, based on the demographic you're aiming for, or the part of New Zealand you're in, this is what I would do based on all my experience that I've got in the industry, and try and sort of, because we get a lot of people coming in, or say most people coming, never done a gym before in their life ever. So I would say between myself and the rest of the sales team at Life Fitness, that would be our advantage over most other suppliers personally, is that, we've all been doing it for 20 plus years. We're all in the industry in some way or the other. I guess from my perspective, because I've been a PT, I've had a CrossFit gym and I've coached and done all sorts of stuff within the fitness industry. From that perspective, I'm always trying to look at it through the lens of not just obviously because I want to sell them gear, but I want to try and make it the best investment that they can make. So there's definitely been some fit outs where I've gone, or they might have said to me, oh, I need this, this, and this. And I'm like, no, you don't actually need that much to start. You just need this. Because you've got to get to that return on investment straight away. Because you're front loading all the capital when you set up a gym. So you spend all the money at the start and then pray, that you're going to make the money in the future, because you've got, the fit out of the building, the toilets, everything and the equipment that 100. You pay for before the doors open. So
what's the average, based on what because you've done this so many times, what's the average length of time for getting you at least to break even for a gym?
To break even? That just comes down to the pre-sales. There's some operators that have done really good pre-sales and they're breaking even when they open the doors.
No way.
Yes, because they've done such a good job. And then there's others that have taken 2 years to break even. Yeah,
I heard about 2-3 years is about the time where you can.
Yeah, I would say you need to be aiming for 3 to 6 months to be at a point where you're paying the expenses, and then maybe 9 months where you're probably able to make a little bit of a profit and start paying yourself. But we've done Anytime Flex, Les Mills clubs, all of those clubs. So we I wouldn't say I have access to all their data, but you talk to a lot of them, and it just depends on where they're at. And there's certain demographics, certain areas, where there isn't a good gym at the time, and you suddenly put a good gym in there and it just explodes and it gets profitable really fast. But that all comes down to the operator being, setting a good plan. I'm not going to lie, there's been lots of people come up to me and say, I want to do a gym, and they've got no idea. And then they spend 2 years trying to break even. And that's because, I can think of a couple of examples. I don't sort of want to name names and stuff like that, but, I remember one club that was opening and said, mate, the market's evolved in the year or two that you've been planning this. You need to change your model slightly, bring some people in to get some PTs in to help you run this, and basically set it up as a bigger PT studio, because this was more of a boutique studio that they were doing. And the boutique market had evolved quite a bit. But if they're not going to listen, then you can't really help them. But in terms of the design and the layout, it's just like anything. You always get an expert in. So if you're going to do a gym and, do all that design work, you'll get an architect in for sure. You'll get a builder in for sure. You'll probably consult a lighting engineer. So what really surprises me sometimes is they don't really find an expert in the fitness industry to come and help them with the layout, come and help with the equipment. They might just go for the cheapest option, for example, but Life Fitness is a premium product, and with that you get a premium level of service and advice as well. So, not to sort of make it like a Life Fitness promotion, but I would say, the people that I've worked with, the feedback has always been that, what we've given them is really helped them be a successful fit out, exactly like what you're saying, making it flow properly, putting the right equipment in the right places, making sure that there's not too much of one thing and enough of another. And from my perspective, I always look at if I was a PT, how would I want to train someone? So I always look at the different planes of movement that the body does. So, squat, hinge, push, pull, press, carry, those sorts of movement planes, and making sure that, for a horizontal press movement, there's a horizontal pull movement. So if I'm putting equipment in, I don't just go, I'll stick a whole lot of chest press machines in and forget about the back. I don't put a whole lot of lat pull down machines in.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and forget about the shoulders. So every piece of equipment that I put into the gym is based around training the whole body in the right way. you know, and it's not just about trying to put as much equipment in there as I can to make money. But then I'm also looking at the different ways you train, to the way I train, to the way my wife trains, to the way your mum and sister might, you know, she's a triathlete, so she's a high level triathlete. How would she want to train? So is there somewhere that she can come and train and still get a good workout in versus your general population, you know?
Yeah.
So like Auckland Uni's a massive fit out that we've just done. It's the biggest fitness equipment facility that we'll ever do in New Zealand. It's 26,000 square meters of, you know, recreational space, basically.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
it's
crazy.
insane. Like, obviously, you know, super fortunate to be able to supply the equipment, but within that, there's a pool, there's a spa, sauna, tennis courts, a roof that you can run around and stuff. So
That's crazy.
yeah, and with that came the challenge, right? This is not just for general population. This is like students who have left school, so 17, 18 years old, never been to a gym before. This is for people who've been at university for a few years, so probably know a little bit about training, professors and postgrads, and also the community. So you've got probably one of the biggest demographics you could get. And in that CBD area where Auckland Uni is, there's, you know, I think it's like 50,000 or 100,000 people come into that particular part. So it's a real busy area. So
I think I saw a photo that you share of one of these locations that you said like this is one of the best gym locations I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like that in itself is a challenge because you've got a huge volume of people coming in every day, all training at the same time.
But that's what I was going to ask you about the configuration as well, because that's one thing I was thinking about as well. When you go to a gym, and I went to many gyms, but you always get if you go to the busiest time, which is usually the time you go because it's when you finish work or whatever, but you get like bunch of people, and sometimes it gets pretty gnarly in terms of finding a bloody bench just to do your thing. And I always wonder if the design of the gym could account for people like sort of following them around the gym.
Yeah,
you know what
definitely.
I
I mean, like that free weights area with the dumbbells and benches, and I would say that's one area that, you know, in hindsight, I would always want to add more space now because that, you know, you can do everything with a pair of dumbbells you can with a machine. But exactly like what you're saying, you know, we create like a pin-loaded sort of, I'd say entry to mid-range level person area, and then you've got lots of cables, lots of racks, lots of free weights. So, and even like trying to have the leg machines in one area and then the upper body machines in another area. So, because most people generally do like a split where they might train upper body one day, lower body the next. If they're doing functional training, they need like an area which has got the capacity to do a little bit of everything. So, you know, I mean, Fitness Cartel, Auckland Uni, Les Mills, Flexes, they're all, you're following a similar sort of formula for them all.
Right.
But obviously within that, you know, every room, every building is different. You know, they're not all the same size, and New Zealand is quite small compared with the rest of the world. So you're trying to always not so much squeeze in as much as you can. Sometimes less is more. Yeah, it's just get the basics in first, and then sort of add some pieces around that. I would say, you know, outside of equipment selection and that sort of thing, I think lighting is one thing that...
Yeah, you mentioned lighting and sound, and that's sort of things that people don't think about. But in a gym, super important, right?
Very important. And it's creating the atmosphere, you know. It's just that experience. It's trying to get people into an emotional state when they're training. Like when you're at BFT, they've got the music pumping, they've got the TVs on the wall, everyone's giving you high fives. So it's an emotional experience as opposed to just going in there and lifting weights and stuff. So I think gyms are sort of trying to do that, you know, and if you compared Auckland Uni to Fitness Cartel, very, very different looks internally. Like, you know, Fitness Cartel's got like Hulk on the wall, and Auckland Uni's sort of got a big, you know, a Maori motif and statements around the room and stuff like that. So, but they both look really, really cool, you know, really architecturally designed well. The lighting's been done really well. The sound's been done really well. So, you know, it's always just trying to look at how you can make things simple but effective. And just create that vibe that people just want to go in there and train.
No, 100%. I think that's, and I talked about that in the podcast I did with the BFT owner, because that's one of the things that I think hooked me up was the gamification part. And I wanted to ask you about that actually, because have you seen a gym that perhaps doesn't do the whole boutique sort of functional training thing that BFT does, but they have incorporated this whole gamification aspect to their regular gym structure? So I'm thinking, for example, what is the name? City Fitness or whatever. if I go to City Fitness, and I could potentially have the same experience when it comes to gamification with the BFT heart rate monitor. If I have a City Fitness monitor, I go into the gym, I put it on, I do my workout, I see the leaderboard in the thing. Like, you don't have to have you know what I mean? You don't have to have one but the other. Have you seen anything like that happening?
Yeah, I mean, MyZone is basically the wearable that a lot of gyms are using to do that. So it's exactly like your chest strap or wrist that you use at BFT. And when you come into the gym, there's a TV on the wall, and I'll walk into the gym and it knows that I'm there because it's running off the receiver, Colin, and it's got my MEPS. So that's basically your points that you score while you're working out. So you can see, how many points I'm getting while I'm training. So it's quite cool because, to get 100 MEPS in a workout is not too hard. But, a lot of those gyms will run challenges and say who can earn the most points this month. And that obviously gets adherence. They get people coming more often. And as soon as people come more often, they achieve better results and that sort of thing. I think every gym is doing something along those lines. I mean, potentially maybe not every gym, but like there is a lot of people doing their own sort of version of MyZone and tracking and recording and, just collecting points, basically how many visits you're doing. Every gym is sort of posting, the most visits per month, like leaderboards and things like that. So definitely gamification. And I think that comes back to like creating that community where, I come into the gym and I do 3 sessions and you go to the gym, you do 4 sessions. Like, oh, geez, I'm going to beat him next time. I'm going to do 5, and it's just trying to get people to train regular. I've always said when I started as a PT, like if someone could give me 3 sessions a week, for 4 weeks, I could make massive changes. And so I always used to try and give them I'd always test them, if I had a brand new client, and then just try and pick one or 2 things that I knew I could change in that 4 weeks. And say, right, in 4 weeks time, let's focus on, getting your resting heart rate down, or let's focus on, and it might be like a little hill interval we might have done on the treadmill. Let's try and get your recovery down faster on those sessions, as opposed to getting stronger, because that takes a bit too much time. But those sort of physiological responses are really easy to get. And once someone sees that result, once they see that they're improving, they want to come back for more. And I think that's where the gyms are going now with like BFT and F45, CrossFit, and anyone using a MyZone. It's basically like, you manage the performance, and then you can, you measure the performance, and then you can manage it. And if you manage it, they get a result, and they keep improving, that sort of thing. There's a lot of tech, and where is that all going to go, and how is that all going to evolve? Like AI and all that sort of stuff is massive. ChatGPT, like, I don't know, like kids these days can probably do their exam through ChatGPT.
100.
So I think what that tech could give you is the data, and then it's still a service business. Like, I still feel like nothing beats seeing someone at 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning when you walk into the gym. They say, hey, stay, hope you have a good workout, and give you a high five at the end. Like, no tech can ever beat that. But if you know that you haven't been in for 3 weeks, and then you suddenly walk in the door, and that person who's running the session that day suddenly gets an alert saying he hasn't been in for 3 weeks, make sure he has a good workout, or find out why. That's where I think the technology needs to go.
Right, that's a very good point.
Because I mean, adherence and turning up and managing people and stopping that churn. Like, if you can see those patterns starting to appear, like Colin comes in 3 days a week for the first week, 2 days a week for the second week, and slowly drop off, and you can get an alert set up around all of that. I mean, there's probably some tech around that, but if you could have that built in, like artificially measuring it and managing it, and then your sales team or your gym floor staff.
Actually, I don't know if BFT has that, but whenever, for example, there was a period of time when my wife was sick and she couldn't go, and I got a private message from the trainers going, hey, we noticed that you guys haven't been coming in this week. Is everything okay? Hope everything is fine. Looking forward to see, like, just that message alone. And that's what you're talking about, right? And then being able to, that when they see you, I don't know if they do this, if they have something that tells them that, or is this just by memory of their coaches? But I think that's huge. That's huge when they know a particular thing. And then when you come in, make sure that, hey, what are we achieving this week or whatever? They sort of push you into this goal-oriented goal orientated sort of.
I mean, they'll definitely have something like some CRM in the background, which is
Probably,
tracking you,
right?
and I think like the text message is cool, but I think if you could marry that with like a personal thing, like because we're humans, you know. So if a human came up to you when you walked in that gym, like maybe they should get the text message so that when they see you at the gym next time, oh, you know, you've just walked in and your wife's not with you. Hey, you know, normally training with your wife. Is she okay?
I always get that, bro. They always is Marcella coming today? Yeah. No, she's not coming today. I love that, man. I love that, and that's what I was telling you. I got hooked onto that because the experience was just so different to anything. And I've been going to BFT for over a year now. So imagine never stick to a gym.
Yeah,
I was probably one of those that signed up and churn immediately. To now a year I've been going, and it's been amazing. And that's why I had him actually the BFT when I was in here, because I was like, man, this service is amazing. And I know there's several of them out there. So one thing I always say is, you know, if you're struggling with fitting into exercising into your life, just go and try any of them. I'm not telling you go and try BFT. There's so many offers out there. However, actually, I'm going to plug BFT here. We have BFT started to support the podcast, and I told them, okay, cool. And what I would like to do is an offer for the people listening to this, and they are giving away a free week. So you turn up to BFT, Glen Eden or Te Aratu, just mention the Melding Muse, and they set you up with a Evolt full body composition scan consultation. So they, you know, set up your goals, whatever, full week, so you can try it out, see if you like it, and then hopefully, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get hooked. Then you can start tracking some progress and whatnot. So thank you for the guys at BFT. But if you don't want to go to BFT, go to any gym, just work out. That's what I want to say. But one of the important things with BFT that hooked me up, for example, was the wearable. So that's what I was asking you about, whether or not other gyms were implementing at least one side, because I know the churn is so huge, and this can definitely help with that. So yeah, amazing to hear that. I was going to with you mentioned AI and data and all of that kind of stuff. Where do you see AI sort of coming into playing a big role in gym equipment and all of these sort of things? You guys, and also the other question before I forget, I was going to ask you the Life Fitness. You mentioned about the offer, like you guys give consultation about a full gym fit out. Mm-hmm. Can you quickly, and it's actually just for me to understand, all the offer that Life Fitness have in terms of, do you guys also sell to households, for example? If I want to buy a machine, what type of, are they different from the ones in the gym? Can you just, in terms, somebody might be listening to this and going, I actually want to buy some shit.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody who want to start a gym. Just give us a quick walk through the offer, like the different things that Life Fitness offers, especially in New Zealand.
Yeah, so in New Zealand, we've got a full sales team, which covers everything from a full-out commercial gym to a hotel or an apartment or a school, even like for your home gym. So got a different person in the team will take care of each part of that business for us, because they're sort of specialists basically. So
I see.
Yeah, and you know, we will sell you know, our products as a premium product, but there are consumers out there who want to set up a home gym and they want to replicate what they've trained on.
They have,
yeah, exactly, and they want that quality, and they want to train on commercial gear at home. So, yeah, if anyone's out there looking for anything like that, you know, anyone want to set up a gym, want some advice on where we're at in the industry, and you know, I guess because we deal with a lot of gyms, we know, or probably the most gyms out of anyone, we know sort of what's happening and where. And not that we're going to share anyone's intel, but at the same time, we can certainly point you in the right direction if you wanted to do something. I remember ages ago, you know, a customer of mine came to me, and I'd known him for a while, and he was a PT, and he was looking at doing like a franchise gym or more of a boutique gym.
Yeah.
And the more I got to talk to him, I said, mate, like your unique thing is the way you train people. He had a very specific way of how he PT'd people. I said, as much as I'd love you to do a franchise, and that's a turnkey solution that you can walk away from and it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's so many of those out there already. If you did a gym, how you train people, like that is going to be so sick.
It's quite a unique thing.
Yeah, that people will come there for you.
Right.
You will still have to work a decent amount of hours because you are the service, so therefore you're the provider, so therefore you have to be there. But you eliminate a lot of competition and stuff. So, you could use this as a sounding board. Say, hey, I've got this cool idea of what I want to do. Do you think it's going to work? And we would happily work with anyone for that, really. So, the consultation design process, potentially, we'd love to charge for it, but it is just something you just have to do as part of the job.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've done hundreds, thousands of different floor plans. We do a 3D fly through and everything. But
wow.
like I said, I like to create the vision, because once someone sees the vision, they go, "Oh my God, that's exactly what I want to do." Or I could be completely wrong as well. And there's a lot of people who are very visual, so they don't know exactly what they want. But if I can put a picture in front of them, they might go yes or no, maybe, and then I just keep plugging away, and it's like you're a designer, and a client comes to you, can you create this for me? And they don't really know what they want, and then you've just got to get that creative energy going. And I guess that's what I love the most about what we do, is every facility is going to be slightly different to the next. It's, even if it's a flex or an Anytime, which are franchises that have a strict model to work within, there is still a little bit of license to move things around and change things.
Oh, really? What is that? Like, do they have a specific number of machines? Like, what is the sort of guidelines with these franchises?
Yeah, there's always a minimum equipment selection, but then there will be other pieces that they can get as well. And within our range, we've got, multiple, we've got Insignia, Hammer, and Axiom. So 3 different types of pin-loaded machines you can choose. So depending on what look you want and what style you want, you can pick 3 different models. And then with cardio, we've got multiple models as well. So it's kind of like, where in New Zealand are you going to be, and who's your biggest competitor, and what sort of level do you want to be at? What's the, particularly with Flex, they've got quite a lot of license to with the art and the decor around the facility as well.
Nice.
So they can do some things there. Anytime's a little bit more stricter, but at the same time, there's a lot of options there as well. So it's always trying to work out what's going to look the best, and work the best as well. Form and function are the 2 things. It's like anything in life, it's got to work well, but it's also got to look cool. And people get attracted to, facilities that look really cool as well. There's a lot of shiny new things coming out these days, and people doing things. And I feel like there's some gyms out there gone like way off the reservation and made it, a bit too sort of out there. And when you're looking at all of those costs that they're putting into their fit out, it's really hard to get a return if you spend too much.
Yeah, for sure. You could be spending a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a 5-star hotel. It doesn't have to have, like marble tiled bathrooms and things like that. But at the same time, it's got to be as nice as what your client would have at home. So, and it's got to be kept clean and tidy. And that's another thing, like, at the end of the day, like, gyms, need to be super clean, super tidy, 100%. Super well run.
The management part is huge. You could have the most beautiful gym, but if it smells pretty terrible, it's dirty, that kind of stuff is super key for getting people to stick as well. I was gonna ask you, is there any like, let's say I called you, Colin, I want to open a gym up here in Gleneden. And I tell you, do you think that would work out? Like, that's from the very beginning. I haven't even done market research, but there's about, in just the block, you came from West Coast Road, just up there by the Gull, mate, just that area, there's like 5 or 6 gyms just around that area. And I always wonder, man, like, fuck, if I were to open a gym out there, what makes me different? Like, what can I do to make my gym different? And does the population around these areas still enough for me to make a profit? Like, do you have that into consideration when somebody approaches you and you go, okay, where are you located? How many gyms are around you? Is that something that you also sort of guide people through and stuff? Yeah,
for sure. And you've picked a really good example out here where you live, and there's a lot of gyms that have been here a while and probably haven't reinvested back into their facility. And there's some that have, and I always look at that and go, well, these A, B, and C gyms, there's the top of the line A ones, there's the middle of the road B ones, and then there's the C ones. And, it sort of depends on what type of facility you want to do. Say you come from a football background, so you might want to go for a more athletic style gym, and you're obviously training at BFT. So I would sort of look at that, and even in today's climate, I would sort of say I would be really nervous about doing a single modality gym.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, BFT is evolving now, which is really cool to see, and so that is super exciting to see. Like I had a CrossFit gym back in the day, and if I was to do that again, I would structure it so that PTs could work there full time. So because you've got to create an ability to get return on that square meter of space 24 hours a day, 7 days a week now.
That's true.
Because it's so competitive, you can't just have, classes now. You've got to have classes plus other stuff. So I think, if I was running BFT, I would sort of look at a way that outside of class times, the instructors could coach and be PTs, because then you can pay, or then the instructors.
That's a very good point, because BFT, that's one thing I thought about. BFT is closed for most of the day.
Exactly.
And you're still paying rent. The equipment's still there.
Exactly. So it's a waste. It's a waste of space and time and money. So if you could say to your trainers, hey, outside of class times, you can PT and we'll split the money, or you work out a rental model. That'd be one thing. The 24-hour gym model has started out just as a gym. Then it's added group fitness. And now they're sort of doing functional training. So it's really hard for those 24-hour gyms to have group fitness if they don't have good group fitness, because BFT's come along and just, in F45 cross whatever, they've destroyed those other gyms because they run a really good model. So if you're going to do something and it's not very good, then you'll never make any money out of it. And so I see so many gyms that run what they call group fitness. They might have 6 people in a class. It's not breaking even. It's not really worth doing. So it's sort of look at that area and go, well, in this area you've got these clubs and they do this, this, and this. What do you want to do? Where's your strengths, and how do you see yourself fitting into that? And you say, oh, look, I don't know, I just want to open a gym. And I'd say, well, the easiest thing is a 24-hour gym in some ways, because you don't have to be there. You can make money 7 days a week, because, it's just swipe in, swipe out, that sort of thing. But at the same time, there's a high investment, because you've got to have a lot of equipment. You've got to have a decent space to do it. So it's sort of like looking at every area and going, what do I think would work there?
What can I bring to this?
What can you bring to it, and what's going to make it unique? But there's always an opportunity, because, the other factor is you just look at those gyms and go, is there one there that you could buy?
That's a very good point, actually.
Because you've got an existing membership, you've got money coming in potentially. Sometimes it might be better to buy a gym and then refit it yourself. Yeah. Take over the membership, come in and do it better than what people were doing before. And I see that happening a lot in the last 5 years where, like people have been in the gym for a long time. And I would say when I started in 2007, most gyms were run by people like myself who'd been in the industry for ages and been a PT and then opened a gym.
Yeah.
And that seemed like the natural evolution. Then COVID hit and it was like, holy crap, I haven't set aside any money. I've just been doing this because, it's kind of like a job really, but like a job where I didn't have to go and work for someone else. And so a lot of those people sold out, and new people have come in and they're really running it more like a business, and, still got that training vibe to it, but, there's a lot more business people, like the guy who set up those BFTs that interviewed, he was a ex-policeman and wanted to get to health and fitness and that sort of thing. So he's probably brought a lot of experience from, working in that industry to running a gym, but not come from a gym industry background per se.
That's right.
I would say that's where the biggest difference as well is. So I think it's you've got to have a passion for it, but at the same time, you've got to run it like a business. And there's definitely opportunities out there where in anywhere in New Zealand, there'll be a gym that's, doing really well, and there's other gyms which aren't, and just trying to find where you can sort of slide in and sort of capture a little bit of the market. There's definitely, I don't know. I mean, in my time, it's probably tripled or quadrupled the number of gyms that I've, had to deal with. I mean, Flex is at like 50, Anytime's probably 50 or 60, Snap, Jets, that's probably 200 franchise gyms or more.
Wow.
City's probably around 50 or 60. So you're probably looking at, and if you include F45, BFT, and all of those guys, there could be close to 300 to 400 of those franchises that have come in the last 15 years.
Wow, that's
across
crazy.
New Zealand.
Yeah, because I remember when I came here, there wasn't that many. It was like Les Mills, and then I think City Fitness. I can't remember anymore now. Then you start seeing Snap, and then Anytime, and
they sort of all started. The franchise movement sort of hit probably about 2008, 9, 10, around there. It sort of really started quite small, and then 2010 it just exploded and just there were just franchises popping up everywhere. And then
Right.
2015, 2016, Flex sort of started taking off. Anytime took off a bit then as well. But it's kind of like people have probably got away from, I don't know, buying houses and doing other things with their money and got into fitness.
Yeah.
And the population's increased as well. So there is room for everyone.
Yeah.
I think, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of that, actually, you said that there's room for everyone. There's specific, you guys have a specific equipment, SCIFIT, which is, it says they're prescribed for progress, but essentially is basically equipment that's designed for people that perhaps cannot use the same equipment that we can. And I thought it was pretty cool because, like you said, there's opportunities for everybody else, right? I remember there was a boom at some point. I don't know what happened actually with the gym for women only, for example. There were several of these popping up. I don't know if they did really well. I don't know what happened to them, but there were sort of some gyms that were trying to target a specific niche.
Yeah.
One way or another. Walk us through that, like that. How much resources is allocated to that? Does that particular one brand, is it more popular somewhere else, or you know?
Yeah, I mean, SCIFIT, we do sell a lot of that. You know, that's got a lot of, like you say, like more special populations, you could say, focused. You know, like wheelchair accessible. It's got, you know, seats on it, which you can just slide the whole seat out completely and you could roll your wheelchair up to it. Upper body, lower body. We've got a couple of those pieces at quite a few of the council gyms where you might have someone come in with a brain injury and they're slowly rehabbing, or some sort of, you know, physical impairment where they can't actually walk on a treadmill, but you want to get them active. So they've been market leaders in that for a long time and developed a huge range. You know, they slowly started to move more into the traditional types of piece of equipment. We've generally used them for more the special populations, you know, like a lot of the spine rehab centers have got them. Like I said, the councils. Not so many commercial gyms going into that these days because I guess they're not really focused on that market.
Right.
But there's so many cool and different machines coming out, you know, in terms of trying to get people active. Like you say, like it's not a product that we do, but there's a treadmill called the Ultra G, which is basically like you're walking on a treadmill. It's got like a harness, and then you push a button, and it basically inflates around you, and it lifts your body weight off the treadmill. So, say if you've got like a ACL or an ankle injury, and you can't walk with your whole body weight, what it will do is it will get you walking on a treadmill while suspending your body. So, you know, you might...
oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, like the Laura Ferguson Trust, they don't have an Ultra G, but they basically worked their way to create their own version of that. They've just got like a harness with a hoist above it so that they can use a counterbalance to lift you up off the ground. So, you know, there's lots of different ways to get people active and stuff. You know, that's where reformers have become really popular as well. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy where people are just looking at how do I get that person active again and how can I make them move properly again? Yeah.
Bro, we didn't talk about a couple of things and I want to pick your brain on this. There's two things. One is the whole supplement side, which I'm interested in because I've heard so much about the benefits of that. I don't take any sort of supplements. I've never have. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. Is there a good idea? What is good? And then the second part of that was diet, because you talked about, for example, if you have a client and you say, okay, I managed to drag this person to the gym and I really want to be able to measure, track progress and deliver results by, let's say, 2 weeks. Yeah. Diet probably plays an important role in that. Do you actually coach with that in mind as well? Like, do you give them specific instructions in terms of what they should eat, whether they want to bulk up or they want to lose body fat? And also just give us a quick, because of all your knowledge you have with fitness, things that people can implement quite easily in order for them to, you know, if they want to lose weight quickly. I lost weight super quickly, for example, and I lost about 20 kilos within like 3 months. Wow. Yeah. And it was all diet. Yeah. I actually did not work out. I still play football, but I did not do a specific sort of workout. I just changed my diet. I said, I'm going to try this out, went hard on it, and immediately saw the results. So I want to talk to you about that. So diet and then supplements, if you can give us some sort of advice on that.
We'll start with the diet part first. I mean, there's lots of good analogies and sayings here, but you just can't outrun a bad diet. Doesn't matter how much exercise you do.
That's right.
If you eat crap, you look like crap. You know, I started looking at what I was eating when I was at school and, you know, wanting to be better at, you know, rugby and all the sports I was playing and stuff. So I always had a keen interest in nutrition. So, you know, I quickly learned what a carbohydrate was, what a protein was, what a fat was. And, you know, I just self-educated myself, read lots of books. You know, I was just an avid reader and obviously there was no internet back then. But I would say that the biggest issue these days is there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of you know, Instagram influencers who, you know, I looked amazing in my 20s and, you know, my 50s, I mean, look okay, but nothing like what I did in my 20s, and it was super easy in my 20s. So it's very easy to look good in your 20s.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's lots of PTs who I would always bounce ideas off who keep themselves in tip-top shape, you know, in their 40s, 50s, and even mid-50s, you should say. And it's all down to nutrition and sleep and recovery. You know, the training is the stimulus of what you do. So training is like going to school and having that 1 hour maths or English lesson. But then going home and doing all the study is like what cements it in your brain and what cements it in your body. So the training is just the stimulus. It's like having that 1 hour class. But then if you don't do the study, which is the eating, the sleeping, everything else, you're not going to change. So you lost weight by changing what you eat without doing exercise. And that's a classic example of exactly how it works. Like, you know, I could make someone change rapidly in 2 weeks by changing their diet and just making a few small tweaks, not like, you know, going, you know, zero carbs and ketogenic diet and all that sort of stuff. And then saying that we were doing ketogenic diets back in the 90s and before, you know, that was all super popular. But most people eat the wrong food at the wrong times or eat too much of the wrong food. Like you can eat pretty much within reason, you know, a little bit of everything and you should be okay. But what people do is they eat too much carbs, not enough protein. So I would say if I come back to CrossFit, they had a really simple analogy, you know, like if you can pick it up out of the ground or if you can grow it and catch it, kill it or whatever, you know, it's probably good for you. But if it comes in a packet or a can or it's got a whole lot of, you know, additives added to it, it's probably not good for you. So, you know, if you just stick with the basics and just to eat a moderate amount of everything, you know, you'll probably be better off than 90% of the people out there. But what most people do is they eat for convenience and they're going to, you know, get takeaways or even
canned
if they
food or
canned
whatever.
food or microwave meals or whatever.
Frozen meals.
I mean, if I'm ever, you know, in a rush for dinner, I'll go to the supermarket, I'll buy like a roast chicken that's already pre-cooked. I'll buy a bag of coleslaw, you know, that you get from the fresh section. And then you might get some potatoes. I can microwave the potatoes in 5 minutes. The chicken's already cooked. I can shred that and then I can have a salad. So within less time, or probably the same time as it takes for me to drive through a McDonald's drive-through and get my food and get home, I can probably make a nutritious meal for less, probably half the price of what a takeaway would cost to feed a whole family. You know, so it's sort of thinking like that. And I think, you know, because I wanted to know about nutrition at a young age, I learned all of that anyway. But I think if we could start implementing that in school, like teaching people how to cook and eat and look after themselves properly, you would probably eliminate, I wouldn't say eliminate obesity, but you'd actually get people eating properly.
Yes.
And that is a social thing. Like, you know, there's a lot of people who just don't know what a carbohydrate is. They don't know what a protein is. And protein fills you up. So if I'm ever hungry and I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, I just eat more protein because I know it's going to fill me up and it doesn't get converted to fat as easy and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I mean, I've probably eaten the same meals for the last, like 30 years. Probably when I first started training at a commercial gym, I talked to the owner. I sort of already knew what to eat. But John Brooks, who ran Cuts and Curves, he was really awesome. Like I was, you know, no money, on the bones of my ass as a student. He wrote me a program, told me what to eat, and I just literally followed it to the T. And I obviously made some really good gains. And I think because of that, he just sort of kept on telling me stuff. So I was just like a sponge and just learning off these guys. So I've had protein and oats pretty much every breakfast, every day of the week. Other than the weekends, I might make eggs, you know, for example. And then lunch would always be tuna and rice or tuna and veggies. So I don't know how many cans of tuna I've eaten in my time. And then dinner's always some sort of protein and vegetables and maybe a bit of carbs, because I train first thing in the morning to get it done. If I don't train in the morning, I find it really hard to get it done for the rest of the day. So I've started adding carbs at night if I'm training the next day and it's going to be a bigger session. If it's an easy session, I might drop the carbs. So, I mean, I could happily eat that, every day and I don't get bored. Whereas a lot of people get bored and they want different food. But I think I look at food as a fuel to get me to where I want to go. I mean, at the weekends when I've got time, I might make something a bit more fancy. I might, marinate some chicken and do a charcoal barbecue and make like a Nando's type of meal. And the kids obviously love all of that sort of stuff. But I think, you've got to just keep it simple, and I mean, I would very rarely have a packet of chips, I very rarely have a packet of biscuits.
Actually, sugar, that's another one. That's one of the ones that,
sugar.
The one that helped me a lot, because cutting sugar has a huge impact on your health. Like you don't realize that as well. Like having those sugary drinks that people, that's terrible for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really drink Coke, Diet Coke. I mean, when I was dieting for my first comp, I think I was drinking probably 1.5, 2 liters of Diet Coke a day, just because I needed the caffeine and the sugar. And then I looked at it and did a bit of research into it. I was like, man, this stuff's terrible for me. I'm going to stop that. So you sort of educate and learn and then adjust, But like there's so many incidental carbs and incidental sugars, as you say, in everything that we eat.
That's true.
So, like the loaf of bread that you buy, like if you don't get a good quality bread, then it's probably got more sugar in it than other breads.
That's true. Yeah.
There's lots of like milk drinks, like Primo and all of those other things. They've got lots of sugar. So I'll look at sugar. Even like yogurts. Like I love yogurt, so we buy like a Greek yogurt that is low in sugar, high in protein. Like Chobani is like, it's the best.
Yeah,
so anyone out there?
No, I've seen it. I really like
try
it.
Try that.
Well.
That is the best. Best Greek yogurt. So it's like, and then, like a bowl of blueberries versus like an Oreo cookie is about the same calories.
Yeah.
But you cannot eat a whole bowl of blueberries on your own.
Yeah.
So I think if people understood all of that, nutrition wouldn't be an issue, but they don't. I mean, there's a couple of people I follow on social media who post some really cool stuff around all of that sort of, hey, if you want to have a good burger, takeaway burger, you can actually make it at home for half the price and have twice the nutrition in it. I don't know if you've found it, like sometimes if I go and I'll have a burger and then I'll smash that and I'm still hungry, but yet when I make one at home, I don't have that same feeling. It's because you've got all the other nutrients that you've added to, like, more salad and more fiber and everything else. So just, even like the sauces, barbecue sauce.
You do like a very nice salad and then you slap some crazy sauce on top of it that's got a lot of sugar in it.
So you can always find an alternative to.
Yeah.
I mean, like could be like sweet Thai chili is your favorite sauce, but you can get a sugar-free one or a very low sugar one. So it might have a little sweetener in it that is not that good for you. But I always say to clients when I was doing their diets, like, what's your must-have? Like, is it dark chocolate? Is it sugar in your cup of tea or your coffee or whatever? So I wouldn't remove everything. It's a slow process of removing.
It's a slow process. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's about changing that relationship you have with food and just adjusting. Like, for example, I talked about that, but it's for me, for example, I'm a sucker for pizza, right? I fucking love pizza. But I don't eat pizza all the time. I usually eat a pizza once a month, maybe. But it's fine. If you eat mostly really good food, it's fine if you every now and then have a pizza. Or if you like, I don't know, you like fried chicken.
Yeah.
It's fine. But most of the time you have to put good fuel into your body. Otherwise you
it's just like a car. Like if you put diesel in a petrol car, it's not going to go very well. And that's just like eating a whole lot of extra fat calories. And I mean, chips, hot chips from like a burger bar, it's carbohydrates and fat together, which is like crack. Yeah. It's like an addiction. So you have one and then you keep eating the next one. So it's, obviously there's foods out there which get that sort of psychological response and therefore
they're designed for that, like the Doritos and stuff. Yeah. That thing is designed to the T to keep you eating. That's the whole thing. Cool, man. That's really good advice there in terms of diet. What about supplements? Because that thing I don't know anything about. Like nothing.
I mean, in terms of supplements, so like when I had my supplement shop and then I left that, and I actually went and worked for one of my suppliers. It was a supplement company, so I sold Leopard Sport supplements. I don't think they're around as much anymore, but helped sort of write some of the formulas for the protein powders and bits and pieces. I loved that side of the business. I really thought we had a really cool product then. And I was using, all the protein powders, all the creatines, all the weight gain formulas and stuff like that because I was bodybuilding, and I was sort of quite a big proponent of, these are really good, but you got to remember a supplement is a supplement. So real food will always be a supplement. So you only take supplements to supplement what you're already eating. And what I see these days is a lot of people just living on protein bars and supplements and not eating like a proper meal for breakfast and a proper meal for lunch and a proper meal for dinner. They're trying to have smoothies throughout the day. So your body's just not designed for that. Your body needs to eat like rolled oats or some sort of carbohydrate for breakfast with protein added to it. So I recommend having protein with every meal. And to do that, you probably need to take a supplement because it's not easy to do that 6 times a day or 3 times a day, whatever you're eating. So, these days I would just have a multivitamin and a protein powder, and that's pretty much. I'll probably take creatine if I'm trying to get a bit stronger, but outside of those 3, I probably wouldn't do much more these days, and I probably wouldn't recommend much more. You can probably get enough protein out of a normal diet for most people. But if you're doing like BFT hard out like you're doing, I definitely recommend like a protein supplement would help with your recovery, help with your strength gains, and also help with a bit of fat loss as well. I mean, I do take a multivitamin just because I'm working a lot, I'm exercising a lot, I'm drinking a lot of coffee, I'm in a high stress job and that sort of thing, so I need to sort of top up a little bit. And there's various ones you can use, like these New Zest is a really good one that I've used in the past. It's like a powdered green formula that you can just add to all your smoothies and stuff, and I always find whenever I'm taking that I actually feel really good, and it's just like a natural multivitamin in a bottle basically. And then in terms of protein powders, Reactive Supplements is the one I use there because it's a New Zealand made product. It's 100% natural. You can get it with no flavoring, nothing added to it, and then you can buy your own. He's got like all sorts of different flavors that you can add, like chocolate, vanilla, and heaps, and they're like super, super tasty. But you can just add the amount that you want because I don't like anything too sweet.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Sometimes you put some of those and they just like really
sweet. Yeah. And I mean, I've back when I was bodybuilding, like I was hoovering protein powder like it was nothing, So I used EAS and Optimum Nutrition and Muscle Tech and all those ones back in the day. And so I probably almost, I wouldn't say I'm allergic to a lot of those sweeteners, but I just don't feel good when I have anything with that sweetener in it. So everything I use now, I try and stay away from anything that's got too much added to it and just keep it really clean and really simple. Do some baking with it, make like my own protein bars and protein cookies and stuff like that. And but then I went to a concert the other night, and we're having M&Ms and cocktails and whatnot and stuff. So it's all a bit of a balance.
It's a balance thing, 100%. It's fine if you go there and you're gonna have a couple of drinks with your friends. It's totally fine.
Yeah,
it's all about balance, man. That was such a good conversation. We head into an hour and a half, so I want to give you your time back. Do you do anything in regards to like all these wellness sort of practices that are also becoming quite popular into like fitting it into the sort of workout routine with meditation, yoga, anything like that?
Yeah.
For example, my mobility is terrible.
Yeah.
Like terrible. Like literally, if Josh, you listen to this, my trainer, he looked at me. We have a class in BFT called Balance, where it's more about mobility. Yeah. Oh, good Lord, I'm terrible at that. And I know that I need to get better because that's pretty bad, even for football. But anything that you do, like, or do you recommend that is a good thing to do in order to sort of create a very well sort of balance?
Yeah, I mean, I've just always been into stretching and looking after myself, and like probably really got into it when I started CrossFit, and there was a couple of OG guys like Gareth O'Donnell and Andy Rogers trained at Southern Latitude in Newmarket when I was at VWork, and that's when that side of my sort of mobility, stretching, and sort of looking after myself really went to another level because they were sort of quite big proponents, and because CrossFit got a big gymnastics component, so there's a lot of movements there that I sort of picked up, which I still use now. So like 10 years on, still go through a very similar sequence. Like if you jump on YouTube and Google like the world's greatest stretch, it's like a little sequence, and it's probably a bit of Pilates, bit of yoga and stuff. So back then I was listening to heaps of podcasts and things, and like Wim Hof breathing, so like box breathing, so like 3 seconds in and 3 second hold, that sort of thing. So what I've probably done more lately, just because, you know, you're under pressure and you don't have a lot of time, so I might do like a 15 or 20 minute session where I might jump on the treadmill and walk for 5 or 10 minutes, get a little bit looser, and then I might just stretch for 5 or 10 minutes, but I'll be doing controlled breathing at the same time.
Oh, right.
And I try and focus on like box breathing, or even just trying to just breathe nice and slowly and nice and calmly, just to try and set myself for the day. That'd be one thing that I've probably done more lately, because I just find that really good to just get set up and not sort of get up, have a coffee, bang, into the day. You know, so like my morning routine, like I always drink coffee first thing in the morning. I mean, probably wouldn't live without it. But and thanks for the Colombian coffee as well. That's been amazing today. But you know, get up, have a coffee, and while I'm having the coffee, I'll probably sit on the couch and try and not get on the phone, and I might just sit there and just like chill out for like 5 or 10 minutes and just try and, you know, I guess center yourself or whatever you want to call it. And then I might just do some stretches before I get ready for the day. If I am training that day, then I'll obviously get to the gym and sort of do the same process, but do that sort of world's greatest stretch, box breathing stuff. So I found that to be really, really useful. In terms of like recovery and ice baths and saunas, I would say that's another thing that I guess is super popular at the moment, but I found that to be really good as well, because I guess with tech and phones and everything, like you're always contactable. But when you do that, you have to turn your phone off and put it in the locker.
That's actually a very good point. Yeah.
You know, and going for me to sit in a sauna for say 15, 20 minutes, most
you're
times,
alone with your thoughts. And
you're alone with your thoughts. Sometimes people will chat to you, and I don't mind that as well. But I'm just quite happy, you know, just sit there, close your eyes, and just focus on your breathing. And then when I'm doing like ice baths and stuff like that, or if I'm just having a cold shower in the morning and stuff, I might just stand there and try and count and see how high I get. And for me, I don't know, for me, I just find it really challenging to actually get past 40 or 50, because then my brain will start thinking about work.
Something else. Yeah.
So I just think, you know, everything we do in the world these days is go, you know, and then to try and do the opposite is actually quite challenging. I mean, I find that
it's overstimulating all the time. Your brain's overstimulated, and to try to like, 100%. I also do that. Breathing as well. When I do the cold plunge, man, I have to breathe. I have to really focus on breathing, otherwise I won't get through it. So, man, thanks for sharing that. I practice a lot of that. I'm going to start doing the stretching thing in the morning that you mentioned, because my mobility is
stretching is super important. I would say like in CrossFit, that was the limiting factor for most people. Like if they couldn't do like an overhead squat or whatever, like because their shoulders were too tight, and so it's be the same thing with BFT.
I can't do it.
Doing a power clean and getting your elbows up and things. So I've always stretched. I don't know, I just knew it was good for me. But I would say to everyone, they should be stretching, like yoga, Pilates, whatever. Even just at home, like, you know, there's so many things on YouTube you can get.
You can go through,
heaps of cool apps which will give you like a stretching program as well. And it's super relaxing, you know,
it is. That's one of the things is like, I don't want to do it, but when I do it, I feel great afterwards. Like you feel really good afterwards. Yeah.
I think that's the secret with exercise as well, is like some sessions, you know, you should come out of feeling better, you know, than you went in before. Like, you know, that might be like some of those BFT sessions where you're doing a stretching or a mobility or a pretty easy strength session. And then some sessions, you know, are going to hurt. So you just got to have that mindset, right? This session's going to hurt. I'm going to go right to my limit. I'm going to push myself super hard. And you'll feel better afterwards and have a different type of feeling. And then there's others where you don't want to work out, but you go and do something and you feel better anyway, just because you've got those endorphins released. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, Colin, thanks very much for coming through, man. Appreciate your time. I usually do this with all my guests in the podcast, which is this soundboard, which is essentially what you got right here in front of you is a board with a bunch of emojis.
Yeah.
And behind each one of those emojis is just a random question. It could be a funny one. It could be a philosophical one. So just tap whatever you feel like and see what you get.
I might go there.
If you had to choose one food to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, I picked the pizza.
Most people go for the pizza, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love. Sometimes I think, do I eat to train or train to eat? One food that I could eat for the rest of my life, probably any fish.
Fish,
I love fish. I love seafood because there's obviously so many different types of seafood that you could have.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, if you said, well, you could only have one type of fish, that would be a bit tough. But
do you grill it? Like how would you have it?
Yeah.
Sashimi, grilled,
yeah,
barbecue?
sashimi or grilled would be the two options. I love raw fish. Yeah, just some lightly grilled fish.
Yeah, I love grilled fish as well.
Yeah, just
that's
so
a good
fresh,
choice.
so tasty.
Yeah.
Oh, like a ceviche, like raw fish, and it's an island dish. So it's like raw fish with coconut cream and lime juice. And,
like a ceviche? Have you had ceviche?
Yeah, like a ceviche, and then you let it marinate overnight, and then the next day you eat it, and I love anything like that. Anything that's super fresh and super tasty. Yeah. So like I did a bit of traveling through Central America and things like that, and you're just exploring different types of food and stuff. So anything that's just raw and fresh.
Ceviche is, I think it sounds like that's probably one of my favorite in terms of that. Super fresh, like citrusy. You get everything in one mouth. Yeah, in one. Yeah. Let's tap another one. See what you get. Just do another one more.
What's a habit or mindset shift that completely changed your life?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say probably just working out in the morning. You know, I've done that for a long time, and I would say even on the days where I know I don't want to get up and work out, I get up and work out. And just having that mentality, right? I'm going to do something today. It doesn't matter what it is, and just not snoozing. Get up, get going, just get on with the day. It doesn't matter how. Some days I might have had. I've trained some days where I've had 3 hours sleep. Just because I've had a busy day or haven't slept well or whatever. But just doing some exercise every day always makes me feel better. And I think that being consistent with that, and like the 75 hard, which is cool, but I prefer to look at it as like 365 days of easy. So what can you do every day that's going to make your life better? Go for a walk, do some exercise, even just stretch for 5-10 minutes. Like if you did that every day of the year for a whole year, by the end of the year, you're going to feel 10 times better than what you did at the start. So I would say, it's not about doing 3 months of hard work. It's about doing it for a lifetime. And you can get up and exercise. You've just got to set aside that time. And I would say, like, that's the one thing that I do consistently over and above, other than drinking coffee first thing in the morning, for my own personal sort of health and well-being and looking after myself, like that would be the most, impactful thing that I do.
Amazing, dude. Thanks so much. The last question I had for you is, if you were looking back at young Colin, piece of advice for your own self, could be about fitness, but let's really switch it up. Just about your career, what things have you learned about life that if you could advise this wise Colin to the younger Colin, what would you say to your younger self?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I'd change anything, but sometimes probably just trust your gut and just go for it. Sometimes, when you get a bit older, sometimes you look back and go, oh, man, I should have done that, or I should have done that. And like even jumping into V-Work, like leaving Life Fitness side, like when I was leaving, I was at the top of the game. We were selling the most we've ever sold. We were absolutely killing it. And a lot of people were like, well, why the hell are you leaving Life Fitness to go to V-Work? And I was like, man, I want the challenge. I want to do something different, So maybe my younger years, I didn't go overseas straight after school like a lot of my friends, and I think, if I look back and think, I wonder what I would be doing now if I'd done that. My school had a relationship with a school in the UK, and I could have gone over there and been like a tutor and looked after the kids younger than me and just experienced the world a bit more. Like I've traveled heaps since. But, when you're 18, 19, 20 is different traveling versus say when you're mid-20s to your 30s and that sort of thing, different commitments and stuff. And I guess back then the careers advice was different as well. Like I love fitness. Fitness has always been my passion, always been my hobby and things. But I did a sports science degree, did post-education in biomechanics and weightlifting and stuff, but I'd never really used that. I've become more of a business person. So you're looking at profit and loss and margins and deals and whatnot. So I guess maybe I should have done an economics degree. You never know. But sometimes you sort of look back and you go, I didn't think that's what I was going to be good at. So I think just, sometimes just have a go at everything, and not be too afraid to jump in sometimes. And I guess as you get older, you care a bit less about what other people think and you just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're young and at school, you sort of want to follow what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Actually, I think the last guest we had actually had the same first, like I asked the same question, and he said, "Trust your gut." Same thing. Yeah, it's something I never sort of thought about. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you have that feeling, but you don't sort of pursue any of this because it's something like an underlying fear or something.
Yeah, a little bit of fear,
sometimes you have to trust your gut.
Yeah, and I guess you want to stay at home, or you're in that safe zone where you don't want to get. I mean, like you're obviously not from New Zealand. You came from Colombia to New Zealand, which would have been a massive change, and just doing that at 16 years old was a massive step up for yourself. And I think you learn a lot when you travel.
Yes,
and I think I went to boarding school quite young, and that probably I grew up really fast in that period because you literally had to.
You have to, just like me. When I came here at 16, you have to grow up. You average 16-year-old anymore.
So, and I think nowadays, like it's so easy to do whatever you want, and that's what I want my kids to just basically. If they want to do something, say I'll support you 100%. Whatever you want to do, I'll try and help them as much as I can. Just chase your dreams. You know, I mean, started a business. PT business was in my early 20s and did all that. So I feel like I did take most gambles, but at the same time, sometimes you look back, oh man, I should have given that a crack back then.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Hey, Colin, thanks so much for taking the time. I'm pretty sure this conversation that we had today will inspire a lot of people to get fitter, which was the whole point. Anything you want to let people know about in terms of life fitness, hammer strength, anything that's coming up that you want to tell people about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first of all, thanks heaps for the opportunity, and first time podcast, so it's
a little
first
bit
podcast,
yeah. So, how did I go?
Yeah,
it's not hard, is it? Just have a yarn.
Yeah, I mean, but I love talking about fitness and that sort of thing, and hopefully, if there's someone out there who wants to start up a gym or wants any advice in the fitness industry, just get in touch with us. I guess you put the contact details, that sort of stuff up, but colin@lifefitness.co.nz is the email. I'm really passionate about helping people achieve stuff in the fitness industry. It doesn't matter if it's a gym or a PT studio or whatever. I just love that part of the business and stuff. So, I mean, we've got heaps of cool stuff coming out from Life Fitness and Hammer in the near future from the trade show that we've just been at. Released some really cool strength products, got some cool new cardio products coming as well. If you just follow our social media, you'll see me presenting a few new pieces. Which I guess I like doing a little bit of, but I love talking about product and stuff. So anything you want to know about what we're doing, just jump on our socials and follow what we're doing. And if you want to know more, just get in touch with us. Love to hear from you. Yes, sir. So if you're starting a gym, that's what we talked a lot about that today. If you want to start a gym, definitely hit up Colin in all platforms. Man, thanks so much for taking the time. For all of you who listen to this, thank you for sticking with us. Remember to drink water and exercise. Ciao, ciao. Welcome to the next level. Thank you for watching this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, I'll leave you another episode here. And if you'd like to support us, visit themeldingmuse.com. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.